Mr. Speaker, I thank the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Burgess, for yielding me the customary 30 minutes. I'd like to begin my remarks by correcting my friend from Texas with reference to his 1-minute statement previous to the time that we began the rule. As I understood him, he said that for the last 20 months, that Democrats have controlled every level of power. Somewhere along the line, I think my friend must be very confused about what the responsibilities of the United States House of Representatives is and are. That said, my recollection is that in this Congress, which has consumed 6 months, and in the previous one, which took 2 years, that my friends in the Republican Party have controlled the House of Representatives. So unless it's no longer one level of power in Washington, something is misunderstood by me. Mr. Speaker, the House faces a number of pressing issues that have bipartisan support and that we could be addressing in our limited time before the August recess. For example, we could be reforming in a comprehensive manner our nation's immigration system. We could be ending the sequester. I have not met a Democrat or a Republican that did not say that the sequester was a bad idea. We could be addressing the doubling of student loan interest rates, or we could be having a conference on a farm bill, or we could be appointing something that I still find very strange. We could be appointing budget conferees. It used to be that having a conference around this place was a real opportunity for members, and members sought to be on the conference. I know my first experience, I was fascinated by the fact that I'm on a conference with the other body, the United States Senate. Little did I know that there are rules provided for them to vote by proxy, but I came to learn that perhaps it wasn't as important as I thought it was, but it is important to the process. But for any of these important issues to be addressed, members would have to work together to resolve their differences. Instead, we're spending our time on 2 bills that my friends across the aisle know will never become law. I don't have to be a betting person to bet anybody in this institution that what we are discussing here today will not become the law of the land. The reason that I know that, we've already done it 4 times, this same measure, and it didn't see the light of day in the other body, and this one ain't gonna either. These bills today show what I've been saying for quite some time now, and it's that my Republican colleagues really are not manifesting interest in actually fixing our country's problems. In fact, it seems that they're more happy to simply bring Congress to a standstill and call that success. Mr. Speaker, political victories are not victories for struggling families. And in case these bills are not clear enough evidence, my friends recently released their messaging plan for the August work period in our respective districts. That plan is called Fighting Washington for Americans. Wow. Despite the irony, I would almost want to call it hypocrisy, of sitting members of Congress trying to paint themselves as outsiders and reformers while ignoring their key role in creating the gridlock, Fighting Washington for Americans urges members to consider Washington as a place where nothing good happens, and so the less governing that gets done, the better. Yet these 2 bills today completely contradict those ideas. H.R. 1582 gives the Department of Energy unprecedented authority to veto environmental or protection agency or related regulations. Not only does the bill prevent the EPA from finalizing critical public health and environmental rules, it instructs the Department of Energy to conduct a duplicative and convoluted analysis without any new resources. These are the people that say bureaucracy is a problem, and yet they're creating additional bureaucracy within the framework of these two measures. And I said yesterday in the Rules Committee, I would be astounded at how much time it's going to take the Energy Department and the EPA to coordinate their efforts. Evidently, these people haven't been trying to talk to these bureaucrats the way that I have over the course of time. And it requires, this measure does, extra examination despite the Office of Management and Budget's interagency review of all regulations, which includes the Department of Energy in the review of EPA rules. I did a little research, Mr. Speaker, on how many times over the course of the time that I am here that members on the other side have offered measures that did not become law to abolish the Department of Energy. Hear me loud and clear, to abolish the Department of Energy. Now we come today, after that having been done numerous times, we come today that the Energy Department is the answer. These same people wanted to, I guess everything with an E that is in the cabinet, they wanted the Department of EPA to be abolished at one point, the Department of Education. They need to change their acronyms over there, or else they'll find themselves abolished if they don't get past A, B, C, D, E. Not only does the bill prevent the EPA from finalizing critical public health and environmental rules, it instructs the Department of Energy to do, as I said, duplicative measures. As for H.R. 2218, the Coal Residuals Reuse and Management Act, the second bill being considered under this rule today, it encourages, in my view, a race to the bottom, where the state willing to have the least protections will become the dumping ground for the entire country. I said last night that I would be mad today. I tempered myself with my passion over my reflections of my comments in the Rules Committee. But I cannot but return to them when I think of the community that I live in and that have lived in for now coming up on 51 years, where every one of the Superfund brownfields was in the minority communities. Every dump that ever dumped anything in Broward County was in the minority communities. Treatment waste across the street from where I lived. And I guess perhaps these people have not had those experiences. While there are certainly inefficiencies within the federal government, and they are numerous, the 2008 coal ash spill in Kingston, Tennessee, is evidence that the Environmental Protection Agency has an important role to play in protecting our nation's public health. This bill would allow states to undertake permitting programs for the management of coal ash. And let me talk about what's in coal ash. People seem to think that coal ash is all of this great stuff. Coal ash has in it mercury, lead, cadmium, hexavalent chromium, if you can say that. But these are things that are poisonous. And yes, it is true that we have managed under regulations to constrain ourselves with many of these products that have been utilized for benefit. But do not mistake arsenic and cadmium and lead for anything other than harmful products. The federal environmental standards that are put forward here do not take into contemplation how important it is to establish uniform protections for our nation's health and environment. Let me return to the Kingston, Tennessee situation. The Tennessee Valley Authority is still paying in excess of $1 billion, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.2 billion, for taking this stuff and dumping it in Uniontown, Alabama, 100 feet from where people live. And I suggest, as is the case in the community that I am privileged to serve, where people that are friends of mine have died as a result of not coal ash, but dumps being in their communities and incinerators burning it, and that's the same in many respects. I compliment Florida Power and Light, the largest utility in my state, for destroying their 2 coal ash plants in Fort Lauderdale, and we still find that Florida Power and Light manages their business well enough to make handsome profits. As far as electric rates going up, I would suggest to my friend it's sort of like health care measures. And I continue to ask everybody, tell me today, before there was anything called Obamacare, tell me today that your insurance rates for health went down. So tell me today that your utilities went down. I don't recall any period where that happened. And somewhere along the line, we need to address these things in meaningful ways. Different standards in each state provide an economic incentive to send coal ash to the state with the lowest level of regulation. This bill will not ensure the safe disposal of coal ash or make current law any stronger. Fighting Washington, that's what you're getting ready to say in August, does not keep our air and water clean. Fighting Washington does not provide the sick with medical treatment. Fighting Washington does not keep Wall Street from preying on the American people. Fighting Washington does not provide student loans for children who aren't going to be able to return to school this year because of the prohibitive costs. Fighting Washington does not provide immigration reform in a comprehensive manner. And somewhere along the lines, we have to understand there are more than 11 million people in this country that are here illegally. And I can point to you people that work right around this Capitol, and a few that are in it, that we rely upon, that we need to straighten this law out about, but we prefer to fight Washington. Fighting Washington doesn't help the Center for Disease Control prevent us from having diseases. At Robert E. Lee High School in Fairfax County, one of the best counties for education in this country, they've had a recall of students for tuberculosis, something that I thought that we had pretty much abolished. But when we can't find the necessary research money and we can't find the necessary provisions, largely because we're fighting Washington, then we're going to have other outbreaks like that that we have to contend with. Fighting Washington doesn't provide the National Institute of Health the things to do to provide women's health and male research in order for us to better the health of the United States of America. Fighting Washington makes for a great talking point, might even make for great fundraising, or might make for a good bumper sticker, but it is far from a serious strategy to actually make this country better. A better title would be than Fighting Washington for Americans would be Washington Fighting for Americans. Now this Do Nothing Congress, I've been here 21 years, is giving new meaning to do nothing. And all of this repealing things didn't just start this year. Next week, we'll be back here on the floor talking more repeal. We're going to have something called the REINS Act. We're real good up here at naming things, R-E-I-N-S. We're going to be doing some more repeal. But in the 112th Congress, I look back, we had 137 votes to block actions to prevent pollution. We had 55 votes targeted at the Department of Energy. We had 57 votes to defund or repeal clean energy initiatives. We had 47 votes to promote offshore drilling. We had 81 votes targeted at the Department of Interior. We had 87 votes to undermine protections for public lands and wilderness. We had 53 votes to block actions that address climate change. We had 38 votes to dismantle the Clean Water Act. 317 repeal votes. I've changed you all's name. It's no longer the Republicans, it's the Repealicans. You must be people that just repeal, and over in the other body, they're Republicstructionists, because their whole objective, and that gets ignored here when we start talking about who's responsible for what, it gets ignored that the minority
in the other body has arcane rules that permit them to block everything. And that's what they've done. Everything you haven't blocked or sought to repeal. Here we have been here trying to get health care for people, and you all are voting to repeal health care 39 different times. I'm tired of voting on that kind of stuff. I want to vote on something that's going to provide some jobs for America. I want to vote on something that's going to have some students have some jobs when they get out of school. I want to vote on something that's going to allow for technology and innovation to catch up with what's going on in the world. I want to make sure that we exact our responsibilities, particularly with reference to education. I want to make sure, I just left the meeting with the homeless providers and nonprofits. I want to make sure that there's Meals on Wheels. I want to vote on something to make sure that every child has an equal opportunity for a very good education in this country. I want to vote on something that's going to look 50 years down the road to what America looks like, and not 50 months from now, or not 1 month from now in August, when you're going to be fighting Washington. I'm going to be up here with you in Washington, and we are consummate insiders, and it's ridiculous for you to go home and try to tell somebody you're anything other than that. And you do control 1/3 of the legislative body, and you do have exacting responsibilities given to you under Article 1 that you're not exercising. You have the ways and means ability. You have the numbers to undertake to do those things. So yeah, I'm mad. And I think many in America are mad too, with a Congress that is doing nothing.
Mr. Speaker, the previous speaker is a person that there are few in Congress that I have greater respect for. And I certainly understand the dynamics of living in communities. And in my judgment, she's absolutely correct that what we should be doing is everything we can to constructively make sure that we are about the business of ensuring the health of the communities that we live in. So to that degree, while I stand by my position that I'm glad I don't live next to these facilities, unfortunately I live close to and have for some time facilities that have been harmful, that claimed that they were protecting the health and the environment of people. Mr. Speaker, last night or yesterday in the Rules Committee, my friend from Illinois, Mr. Shimkus, said something that I would like to correct. He'll be down here, I'm sure, later today or whenever this measure comes up. He noted that the Environmental Protection Agency testified, quote, that they do not oppose, unquote, this coal ash bill. I want to make sure that everyone knows that the Environmental Protection Agency said that because they are not permitted to take a position on legislation, only the administration is allowed to say they support or oppose legislation. And in the administration position last night, they did not say that they don't support the coal ash bill, nor was it a veto threat. And I would urge my colleague from Texas to point me to the time that Barack Obama has vetoed something. One of the things, I've been on that committee, he's been there 7 months, I've been there years, and I've been there with other presidents, and it is not uncommon for Congress to propose and to have the administration oppose, and vice versa. Mr. Speaker, both of these bills before us today are so tilted toward commercial operations that they reflect a warped sense of what is important to the people in this great country of ours. These bills undermine environmental laws that have been proven to protect communities and provide for the development of energy to run America. While we need to develop laws that promote energy and commerce, and snide commentary regarding failed policies at the Department of Energy ignores the number of successes through the years under different administrations and this one that the Department of Energy has put forward. We cannot, in many respects, develop laws that promote
energy, and commerce and ignore the consequences of those activities. Pollution is not equivalent to progress. Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to uphold this rule and the underlying bills, and I ask unanimous consent to insert the text of my amendment to the rule in the record, along with extraneous material immediately prior to the vote on the previous question.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to vote no and to stop being repealicans and be about the business of trying to do something constructive in this House of Representatives. I would ask them to vote no and defeat the previous question. I urge a no vote on the rule, and I yield back the balance of my time.